Trump issues an immediate action when it comes to nuclear war and readiness. We're going to talk about that. It may come on the fact that Russia just came out yesterday and said that they tested a major missile capability called Poseidon that could annihilate and destroy any nation's ocean seaboard. Said it could destroy all inland areas. And you know, America's made up of a lot of that. So what is Trump's readiness for? We're going to discuss nuclear, and we're going to discuss why I believe we've got to get the rhetoric down, because this is not good. Because there's going to be someone crazy enough to just do it. We'll discuss that. Also, we're going to talk about pricing. You know, we talk about EBT and all this is just go on. First, I hope that keeps on going, because I do believe we need to restructure a lot of this. But prime example, there's been reports to show that grocery stores may not be able to make it without EBT. Now, grocery stores don't make a lot of money. They don't have a lot of big markup. But that could be the problem, is that our grocery stores and our food system and everything in life has to have government backing, government subsidies. Now, I've been in business a long time. I've never had government backing or government subsidies. So we need to figure out what the new way forward is. If it's truly capitalism, then we need to allow for consumer to buy what they want and not buy what they want, and the government stay out of it. We're going to discuss that, because I do believe when government's hand is in it, you get a situation where 42 million Americans are held at the behest of the government in an argument over people who are here illegally. Also, I went to a butcher yesterday and saw the price of steaks. I was blown away. What that could be is the fact that government's hand in everything actually makes everything go up. Wouldn't you think that? And then lastly, we're going to talk about Israel. Now, just because we may support Israel does not mean we're not America first. You know, this topic has been burning through the Republicans and the conservatives and the right. And it's going to destroy the party. Well, today we're going to talk about what we say when we say God has a plan for Israel. That does not mean that America is not the most important to us. But spiritually, I feel like the Republicans are alienating one big part of their base. Let's dive into all these stories today. This video starts right now. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here. I don't know if you could tell, but I am under the weather. We have been sick in our home, but hey, it's okay. We're going to get through it, and hopefully you'll get something out of this video that is thought-provoking, but more than that, gains common sense and wisdom as you try to navigate this crazy world that we live in. Now let's talk about the stories of the day. First, let's talk about this Trump and Russia situation. And I do believe we need to bring our rhetoric down, because I do believe that there, at some point in time, North Korea, or some point in time Iran, or some point in time Pakistan, some of these others that have nuclear warheads, that all this talk and all this jargon and all this leveraging, I think will end up coming back to haunt us, because we need to just take the nuclear talks off the table. I think everybody now is posturing to see who's got the strongest military or the strongest elite forces when it comes to China, America, and Russia. That's okay. Everybody wants to see who's the most powerful. But what does it come to, and what is the cost of it? Now remember, about 2 weeks ago I told you about China doing this new capability of Poseidon, and all of a sudden Russia just tested theirs and it was successful. So we see these two working closer together, and that's not a good thing. But I want you to listen to what Trump said just yesterday. This was actually released, and it says, BRICS News, and this came from overseas, it says, just in President Trump's order to the U.S. military is to start testing nuclear weapons. And I want you to listen to this immediately. He put heavy emphasis on immediately. He wants to know that we've got the best of the best and make sure that we're making more and making sure we're ready for anything. Now, that could be just talk, just like the Poseidon talk with Russia, just like the Poseidon talk with China, that everybody's trying to say, well, look, we got our big boy pants on, we're ready to talk. But because we haven't dialed down the rhetoric, because there's still major wars going on around the world, because the peace deal is not done in Russia-Ukraine, because China still wants Taiwan, especially with all this going on with the chips, I don't think nuclear talks and the rhetoric we're using around nuclear is the right thing. Now, do I believe that nuclear warheads will ever be used? I believe there will be small ones used in some point in time in our future. But I don't believe you're going to see anything that's like, world-ending, because I don't believe that's biblical. But I do believe it could destroy, like the Poseidon, it said that it could destroy. I want to read the exact wording that Russia put out in their news cycle. And this was from Raw Alerts. It says, Russia President Vladimir Putin has announced that Russia successfully tested the Poseidon nuclear capable, listen to this name, doomsday torpedo capable of triggering radioactive tsunamis rendering coastal cities uninhabitable. You know, say it hit California, say it hit New York, say it hit Florida. It would destroy them. So do I believe that those kind of things may happen one day? Hopefully it won't. But I don't understand why we're having all this talk about this stuff. I think the best thing to do is peace through strength, peace through negotiation, but not peace through talking about nuclear war. And that scares me, especially when Trump comes out the day after and says, I want to ramp up and get nuclear ready. Stockpiles need to be ready. Get them ready immediately. Again, not that I believe it's going to be world ending, but I do believe we could see millions and millions and millions of people affected if one of these things go off. And if someone's crazy enough to do it, what's the repercussions of that? And how many lives will be at stake? Something to think about. Now, two things I want to mention. This was not shared in my intro, but I want to kind of mention this because I thought this was huge. You know, I've told you before, I think Rand Paul and some of them are actually working against the president. I mean, prime example, I want you to listen to this. So, you know, we have tariffs going on, and tariffs have made us a lot of money. Now, you'll hear the banks and you'll hear the left say that it's not. It actually is making a surpluses of money. $20 to $30 billion a month that's flowing in based on tariffs. I want you to listen to this. After Trump wanted the tariff for Canada to keep on going, guess what? The Senate just voted and brought it before, saying that they were going to cut the tariffs off. You know, the Republicans, actually 50 of the Republicans stayed with Trump, but guess what? 4 did not. 46 of the Republicans stayed with Trump, but 4 did not. Guess who the 4 are? Well, Murkowski and Collins, which are, I mean, they're not Republicans anyway, conservatives. Mitch McConnell, and guess who joined them? Rand Paul. See, this is what I'm saying about Congress and Senate. Most of these guys are looking out for themselves and no one else. Now, you tell me why in the world Rand Paul would stand with McConnell, Murkowski, and Collins, people that you would typically say doesn't have anything like him in his views. He stood with them. It's kind of like Massey. There was a question asked last night, why is Trump going after Massey? And J.D. Vance said, well, because Massey has literally not voted with the president on anything. He's voted with the Democrats more than he's voted with the Republicans. So what does that mean? That shows that the R's and D's behind people's names don't mean anything. It actually means how they vote. Well, Kentucky, you have Massey, McConnell, and Paul. And I know they call themselves conservatives, but do you realize they voted against the president and his initiatives more than voting for the Republican wants? Now you can say, well, there's some things they have principles about. I agree. I mean, we don't need to spend any more money. But to say you're going to vote against the president on everything, including the fact of the tariffs that are working, especially to Canada, because we're sinking Canada, and Canada is taking this initiative to follow the World Economic Forum, and you have these 4 Republicans voting with the Democrats to allow for free trade again at Canada. But we want American jobs to thrive. But no, we want Canada to be able to push their goods here with no problem. Do you know Canada would shut down without America's support? See, and that's why these guys are so bought and paid for, because they knew that, and they're willing to go against their own American president for the needs of Canada. That's kind of like the whole situation with EBT. They're holding up the shutdowns. They're holding up EBT all because of people who are here illegally. It's mind-blowing. Now, we're going to get into that, but before we do talk about the grocery stores, a word from today's sponsor, Chapter. Chapter has been with me for about 8 months, and I'm telling you, man, this has been one of the best companies because of testimonials I've received back. If you're 65 and older or about to be, please call this number below. Spend 15 minutes on the phone. The average person who calls this number, the average American who calls this number, saves $1,100. Think about saving money when you're older, and think about how tight money is for you right now. Well, if you're on the right plan, supplement, they'll tell you. They'll tell you that you are correct. This is the right plan for you. They'll advise you based on what they know. But if you're not, to be honest with you, if it's one of those cases where you don't know if this person rips you off, well, that's where Chapter comes alongside you. They advise you on all the plans across the United States to make sure that you're getting the very best plan. Well, open enrollment's happening right now, and if you're worried about, hey, do I have the right plan for me, and am I saving enough money? Call Chapter. Just talk to them. 15 minutes, and I promise you, it will make a huge difference in your life. You will save some money. Check with Chapter today. Now I want to go to this story with the grocery stores. There was a story that came out that said the grocery sector could lose upwards of $2 to $3 million a day just in places like Mississippi and other states like them that have so many people dependent on food stamps or EBT. It says that people have gotten used to, and grocery stores have gotten used to, the government money flowing in. It's kind of like Section 8 housing, same way. It's kind of like Freddie Mae and Fannie Mac, where they back mortgages. It's kind of like the college loans and how the government stands behind them. Have you ever realized that the more that our government steps in, the more things go up in price? Because they know that the government's backing them. They said colleges, since Trump said that he was not going to fund a lot of colleges, the tuition for most colleges went down because the government was not backing them anymore. Same way with this grocery situation. Now, I know grocery store owners, and they don't have a lot of profit in their stores. They really don't. But the sad thing is, instead of having a capitalistic society, they've based their business model on government. And that's not right. You know, I'm a farmer. I own a business in my local town, and we try to live sustainable. I'm not getting handouts from the government. It's amazing to me. It's amazing that we see all these people getting handouts. You know what? I read a story yesterday. It said that the average illegal immigrant, naturalized citizen, or a person who chooses not to work that has kids at home, 2 to 3 kids at home, could upwards make $4,000 to $6,000 a month, if not more, in government benefits. That's $50,000 to $70,000 a year for doing nothing. So you wonder why they're all complaining. Well, because they had a free ride for so long. But you wonder why our groceries are up. You wonder why the college tuition's up. You wonder why all this stuff's up. It's because the government has backed it for so long. So all these companies just like, well, we'll just stick it to them because the government's going to pay us anyway. We've got to get out of this mentality. That's what happened with Section 8, and that's what happened with rent. That's why rent was through the roof, because government was like, I'm going to back it from COVID. Remember that? I want you to listen. I went to a butcher yesterday. And, you know, we process all our own food. And so we had to go to the butcher yesterday because I don't have a scalder big enough for this hog that I got. So I said, well, I'm going to process it, but I need y'all to scald it. And that just allows me to be able to work with it a little bit easier and to cure out the bacons and so forth. I want you to look at this. This was yesterday. Now, I live in Mississippi, the poorest state in the nation. I mean, I know this is cheaper than probably what you're seeing, and you're going to see more expense in your butcher or your Walmart or your grocery. I went there, and just a ribeye, choice ribeye. Now, we're not talking, you know, filet. We're not talking tenderloin. We're not even talking about the highest cut. We are talking about choice, but we're not talking about some major, amazing Wagyu beef. We're talking about just a typical steak that you get on a Friday night. People can't afford meat. Look at this. For a pound 22, meaning it's $18.95 per pound. That one steak was $23.12. $23.12. So say you're a family of 4 or 5, 6, and you're trying to feed your family. It's going to cost you hundreds of dollars just to have some beef on your table. Now, here's where I'm going to blow your mind, because I know farming, I know cattle. That beef, that steer that was killed and processed for that ribeye right there, that ribeye was on a cow for the last year and a half that was growing, the steer. You get what I'm saying? Like it was on hoof, growing in a feedlot or growing in a farm, and then processed to be on the butcher's table to then come to your table. That 12 to 14, 15 months, 16 months, I'll say 2 years, at that time, beef was selling for $250 to $350 per pound on hoof, meaning a walking around steer, calf, you were able to buy those for $200 to $350 a pound, which is highway robbery, which is crazy expensive compared to like 4 or 5 years ago. After 2020, that's what happened. So that price is based on year and a half growing, and those steer costing $2.5 to $3.5 per pound when growing. Okay, fertilizer's up, which I don't believe in fertilizer, but a lot of these people do. Fertilizer's up, hay's up, feed is up. And guess what? Cattle this last year went to $4 and $5 a pound. When I went to this meat market yesterday and to scald my hog, they said that the sale down the road was guaranteeing $6 1/4 per pound on hoof. So what that means is 3 times the value it's went up. So if those steaks that would cost the actual calf on hoof, meaning running around like a little calf, was $2.50 to $3 a pound, so that means each little calf was, you know, selling for almost $1,000. That means now they're selling for $4,000 and $5,000. It means they've went up 3 to 4 times in value. Well, guess what? That means that by the time the beef gets to you in a year or two, when that calf that's selling for $5 and $6 and $7 a pound right now on hoof at 200 or 300 pounds gets to you, that means it's had a year and a half growing with feed, a year and a half growing with hay, a year and a half growing with people, you know, making money at a farm. That means that beef will be unbelievable. Your steaks, the guy said yesterday, he said, it would not surprise me unless the market falls out, he said, which would destroy farmers. He said he actually agrees that Argentina beef needs to come in America. He said, not because we're not avid supporters of Trump. He's wearing a Trump hat. He said, because if we don't find ways to feed Americans, they're going to riot. The EBT thing won't be a big deal when people can't afford their own beef. He said they need to slowly incorporate just a little beef to get the price down. Not to hurt the farmer, but not to actually see beef go to, $30, $40 a pound for a fillet, or $10 to $15 for a pound of ground beef. That's unbelievable. There's stores running sales now. It's like $6 and $7 for ground beef, good quality ground beef. Come get it while the supplies last. What that means is eventually that ground beef is going to be $10 a pound, $12 a pound, $13 a pound. Are you going to be able to afford it? And again, here we are. We got the government trying to give EBT and coverage to people who shouldn't have our benefits, and they're getting $40,000 to $50,000 a year in benefits just because they're choosing not to work. So who's actually working for you? Congress and Senate? No. See, this is why we're going to keep on having problems, because government wants their hand in everything. I want to end with this section before we talk about Israel. Just yesterday, Larry Fink, who is over the biggest companies in America right now, he's over the Panama Canal. He's over a lot of energy companies in America. He's over most of the pensions and a lot of Social Security. He now is over the World Economic Forum too. He said, I guarantee, listen to this now, I guarantee within just a few years, 2 to 3 years, he said everything will be tokenized and put on a digital platform. He said from money, from crypto, from cash, from gold, he said everything will be tokenized to make it easier to transmit back and forth. So when you hear people like this telling you that they're going to tokenize everything, well, guess who's over that? Government. Well, what have we seen with the EBT situation? What have we seen with the overcharging? What have we seen with inflation? How much has the government actually helped us and done for us? And now they're wanting more into our lives. You better start stockpiling and start preparing, because I'm telling you, this is going to blow up in our face. Now, last story I want to go to before we end is the splintering of the right. Now, I've been talking about this a little bit, but I want to make a mention. I thought this was a good post that a guy posted. And again, I'm a Christian conservative. I think Israel has a place in the end times, and I do believe God's going to use Israel. It says in the Bible. I mean, the Bible is written by Jews. Jesus was born to a Jewish family. Listen to this. I thought this was good. This guy shared this. His name was Mark. He said, Israel is not just complicated. I mean, it's very easy. He said, God gave birth to Israel. He called them into himself. Then he forsook them because they turned against him. Listen to this. He said he's going to have mercy and redeem them. He will come back as King of Kings and rule over them in righteousness in Jerusalem. So when you think about that, we do believe that Israel has a place in the next future. I mean, in the future during the end times. So when you hear the right that's absolutely talking against Christian Zionism, it's sad to me that we have people on the right that's trying to destroy what we've worked so hard to get. I mean, we have a president, we have the Senate and Congress, we have the Supreme Court, and we're fighting over who's woke and who's not in the right. And instead of just dealing with the issues and just saying, let's talk about the issues, they want to destroy the other side of the right. What Tucker Nick Voigt does, what this guy did last night at TPUSA when he was trying to get J.D. Vance on a gotcha question, there is no, just because we support Israel does not mean that our government is run by Israel. You're talking this little state that God will use, don't get me wrong, but this little country state that is smaller than just about every state in America is running our government. Come on. And when you hear that narrative being passed and you hear the propaganda against it, what we're doing is we're dividing the right. When these commentators go after Mike Huckabee, or these commentators go after the conservative movement, the Christians who believe that God has a plan for Israel, that shouldn't divide us. That should say, okay, that's a different opinion, and let's just focus on the issues. Do you remember when Tucker first started? He was getting 30, 40, 50 million views, and he was going against the establishment. He was going against the Washington Elite. He was going against the Democrats. But what he spent for the last, 2 years, all he's done is went against the Republicans. Rand Paul went against the Republicans. Thomas Massey went against the Republicans. Marjorie Taylor Greene now going against the Republicans. All these quote-unquote influencers going against the Republicans. It's amazing. You're starting to see the fall of the right. And I believe that if we're not careful, we're we're going to end up with a communist socialist government, because we're going to destroy ourselves to a point where the communist socialist, people like the AOC, is going to win. This is a serious issue, and I'm scared that we're just pushing it off like it's no big deal. But the right cannot eat itself. And I really do wish that TPUSA would come out and actually talk. I wish Erica would come out and talk. I wish the people that were close to him come out and talk and start trying to help shut down some of these conspiracies, because it's actually ruining the right. And I wish Trump would address Tucker. I wish Trump would address all these other right-wing influencers, because I do believe if he does not address them, we're going to see the fall of our party. And guess who's going to win? People like AOC. People like Zoran Memdani. When our focus is off them, our focus is on each other, we're destroying our other side, and Zoran Memdani and AOC are winning, instead of us actually going after the real targets, which is the other side. Guys, let me know your thoughts on today's video. We appreciate you for watching. God bless.
Be free.